Good evening, everybody. Yeah, somebody said, yeah, HP, the Webinato upgraded something when they got rid of Adobe. So there should have been a message that if you do that, it's a simple upgrade. You just click on it. They show that it's downloading, and then you go up to that little thing up at the top of your page. It says check your downloads, and then you click on it, and you're all set. So there's probably going to be a few things, and a lot of people will say, we should try something else. We've been doing this long enough to know that we have checked out a lot of other systems, and you just have to kind of fight through the little problems on this one because it's still the best for not only me demonstrating, but for people to talk back and forth to each other. A lot of the other systems don't have that capability. Okay. What am I looking at here? I don't even know what I'm looking at. That's gold prices. So this is where we have to kind of observe the obvious. Here was this resistance level, and I could probably draw it even a little bit more exact. Well, that's a fine thing to do. It's probably somewhere right in here. But today we had a major change of investor sentiment. A bearish engulfing signal to close below the T-line. Now it bounced back up. This is the Dow, which so there was some buying coming in, but were you using? No, I don't think so. No, I don't put Bollinger Bands on. Now that's again something you can put on whenever you want to, and anything that you can add to the chart that you will think that will enhance the analysis, go ahead and do it. The reason I try to keep it as simple as possible on my charts is because this is what is the most relevant factor. And more so over in the NASDAQ, a bearish left-right combo. But notice the one other element of today's trading. Look where it closed. And we really didn't have that. That was a guessy one. But for the last 2 months, they haven't been able to close below the T-line. Yeah, we can look at some of the commodities. So that is a major change of investor sentiment. You had a bearish left-right combo and a bearish left-right combo. So this is the type of thing that we're going to be concentrating on or pinpointing this Saturday. It's going to be a 4-hour training. I think Abe will get the links out to everybody. But it's going to go into approximately 6 different aspects of when to take profits, which when we do the surveys saying what's everybody's biggest problems when it comes to investing, a major one is when is the time to close out a position. So is it too scary to stay in EV and battery stocks? I wouldn't think so, CB. Why would it be too scary? I think Microsoft's the only discontinuing support for its We're not abolishing it. Anybody can keep using it as long as it functions. Okay. Oh, and I think, did somebody say they were watching Kramer tonight? He was going through the electric vehicle sector. Any results from that? This is your soybeans. Now this is more significant than right here. This was a 43-point day, which is huge, as you can see, for soybeans. But you can see the pattern, and you can see the result. As long as it stays above the T line, let alone the 3T line, you can stay long. That's what I was afraid of, John, is that if he likes it, get ready to start bailing. What else do we want to take a look at? Here is gold. Also setting up nicely. Let's make this. You can see how gold supported right here at the 50, doing kind of a J-hook pattern. Wheat, kind of a slower uptrend, not as convincing. This is cattle. Apparently down pretty big today. And this was lean hogs. You can see, look at the obvious bullish engulfing signals right off the 200. J-hook pattern. Got to stay long on hogs, but I'd have a safety stop at today's low. GB, I think that was true, but I thought somebody said today they are extending it one more week. Gold is pretty far above. Oh, yeah, but that doesn't mean the uptrend won't continue, allowing the T-line to catch up. So you're still just coming out of this pattern, which tells you right now you're in an uptrend until you see something that changes that. The energy stocks did start picking up some steam. Apache, you want to have on your watch list. Occidental, not there yet. Chevron, basing, but not reversed yet. Silver was also acting well. That's your silver charts. Let me see if I can find something that is. That doesn't make any sense. But silver is acting well. Yes, so I'm getting way ahead of ourselves, but yes, there's pause. Nice fry pan bottom, J-hook pattern. Mag, gapped up, breaking out. I'd have a safety stop just below today's low. Wampum broke out nicely today. A nice kicker signal, and Anglo, El Dorado, kicker type signal. What were the other ones? Oh. GFI, another strong kicker signal breaking up through the moving averages. If I was going after any one of them, that would probably be the one that I'd go after. Another kicker signal in Kirkland and Nugget if you want to trade the indexes. That's got a good reversal. Okay. All right. I'll save those, Gail. Thank you. What is EKX or EX? Okay. Oh, another silver. Yeah, notice your kind of your J hook with a doji sandwich. All right. So let's skip right to the sector that seemed to be still continuing to show strength. LI, bullish Harami, scoop type pattern up through the moving averages. Wouldn't be afraid of that one. Our GP is still working nicely, coming out of we're still in this fry pan bottom. NIO, and that's what I was mentioning today in the chat room, that I meant over the holidays to spend some time doing kind of just a research type, more informational research on the electric vehicle stocks, because some of them are working very well, while others are just kind of lollygagging, like Solo. So the point of using the candlestick signals or patterns to tell you that there's a lot of stock going to or going higher is not so much the fact that the signals and patterns are strong, but the signals and patterns have been strong or starting up strong again off the support levels, which is a logical wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 scenario. But looking at these not only as trades, but as longer term holds, the more longer term somebody, or if you're planning to hold on to them, you want to see what the thinking is out there. Oh, NIO is unveiling its first electric sedan. All right. So it's not so much just the fact that the charts look good, and obviously look pretty good even in the light of the market selling off hard today. But it's like years and years ago, decades ago, knowing that the computers are probably going to be a good, strong sector, or the cell phone is going to be a good, strong sector. It's just kind of logical that a lot more money is being poured into the electric vehicles. Yes, and so that's why we want to do some further research on which ones kind of would be the more solid ones to hold for a long-term basis. So with it cold and crappy weather up here in Pittsburgh, I'll probably be, not that I was going out anyways, be doing a lot more as far as kind of accumulating all the information for the electronic vehicle sector, just so we can pinpoint which stocks have a good chart pattern and the reasons for them having a better chart pattern. Robert, who is that? Is that Tesla that you were trying to type? So anyways, okay. Yeah, so Tesla, as you can see, what did they say? Tesla was up 600% this year. Don, that is why I'm researching that whole sector, because I would have thought the same thing, that Blink would have a stronger looking chart right now. However, it may have been that there was profit taking going on right in here for the year end. Now, after hours, Tesla's back up another point. So this is one, Blink, did I say? Blink is up a point after hours. And that we're looking at this as being a good, solid, uptrending stock based upon the profit taking occurring and then waiting for the next move to the upside. What is Zoom? Well, it's basically a penny stock. So. Well, that's okay. Am I looking at the right thing? Okay. Pat does that device. All right. Okay, we're getting way off track here. So let's get back on track. Let's take a look at why we recommended some today. EYEN. You can see where it bounced and did a kind of a morning star type signal right off the T line. And what would this be a pattern of? There's your classic fry pan bottom followed by a J hook. Started buying gilt again because it did do exactly what we expected it to do when it gapped up above the previous day's open, kind of a bobble breakout. So we started adding some, and we added some more today. That's a strong chart. There's your bobble breakout. So obviously something's happening there. Northern, okay, Genesis. Is that the right symbol? It says natural gas. So maybe I have to do stock.nga. And that's not working either. NGA, all right. Yeah, it's not coming up over here, so let's do this real quick. Okay, Northern Genesis acquisition popped up pretty strong today. It was up 18%. All right. I'm going to put that over here in that category. Okay. Gilt, somebody said today that Gilt was paying out a 63-cent dividend on the 8th. Was that just announced today? Or has it been around for a while? Brad, when was that announced? Can you see? Is that what moved it today, or had it 3 days ago? All right. Okay. All right. I'll have to take it. But anyways, this is a good bobble breakout with a best friend signal. That would imply a lot more upside. This one we bought last week as it was coming back, and you could see that there was the message, and then it started popping, and apparently somebody is buying up a percentage of that company, I would still suspect they could take that up to the 200-day moving average. VG, hold on to all your individual ones until I tell Jim to do the double line. We're still accumulating some of this stock, WWR. It looks like it's starting to come back up in this type of wave pattern. Yeah, I don't know if it's inside buying on this one, but I thought, and the reason I'm floundering around because of the announcements is the system I usually use, which is TC2000, their news system has disappeared. So I'm having a hard time finding what's happening on as far as news situations. But I thought somebody said another company was accumulating. All right. So anyways, that still looks like it's got the capability of popping up toward the 200-day moving average. Hecla Mining, like all the mining stocks right now, is still acting well ever since it did this kind of J-hook pattern. We're watching CBAT because it seems to be supporting again right here on in the 200 or the 50-day moving average area. So watching this just on the basis that it might come back up to this level, which is still a decent percentage return, like a 20%, 25% upside. Okay, on NGA, all right. And lithium is another area to watch as far as a longer-term situation because of the batteries that apparently are using all this. There's the lithium ETF. Now I have to be careful because they gapped up in the overbought area. And that is the other one. Also have to watch to make sure they aren't exhausting up here at the top. All right, thank you, CG. Oh, on CBAT, I would still wait for it to pop back up. It did kind of a little doji day, right, sitting on the 50. I'd wait for it to pop back up and then watch to see what happens at this level. Yes, and LAC is another one. That has got that little J-hook pattern. And look where the J-hook pattern is occurring. If I can do this. Right in here. So you got a J-hook pattern that came up, hit the, at least a resistance level, and now doing a J-hook pattern through that level. That's a pretty good indication that that resistance level is not going to act as resistance because we got a J-hook pattern that implies that even if it moves like this, it's going to come back up into this area. Workhorse here, that's kind of fallen out of the picture. But that's another one that needs to go into the analysis. Now, so a stop limit, no, a buy limit. You don't want to do a stop limit. You want to do a buy stop. Because, I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, let's say, that's not the right one. Let's say Apache, you're ready to buy, and you want to buy it if it trades above whatever the high was today. Let's say you want to put a buy stop at 15. So if it goes above 15, you want to buy it because it's heading in the right direction. So if it opens up at 15.02 and you've got a stop limit, that means you're only going to buy it if you put your stop limit at 15 and it opens at 15.02. It means it's going without you because you wanted to buy it only at 15. So that's why the stop limit. Whereas if you just do a stop, saying if it trades above 15, you want to buy it. All right. Pat, that's a good way to do it because that takes kind of the emotions out of your trading. It's already a preset plan. Let's say we were going to short edit today had it opened lower. But you can see where the selling started up here. I would still short this, especially if they traded down probably below today's low, because that was still a good indication that he couldn't get back up above the T-line. The stochastic's heading down. That's your first likely target because there's a little gap right there. So that makes for a high probability trade setup. And we did Tesla. Tesla is still one of the what I would call the biggies because all the rest of them don't want to be an Apple, don't want to be an Amazon. NVIDIA took off early today but pulled right back. So this is one of those situations where if you decided, oh, you're going to buy NVIDIA because it's got a nice green candle, and then it closes down here, what's the message it's telling you? The bears are still in control. You're still not showing any buying. The stochastics here. You close it back out and say, I need to go find someplace better. Yes, not only is Tesla in an uptrend, but it's still above the 3T line. So just simple logic says, if you're above the T line, you're still in an uptrend. If it's above the 3T line, which is even more sensitive, you're still in a strong uptrend. Did AMAT or Advanced Micro do the same thing? Yes. So if I had been buying today and it closed back here, what did it tell us? Well, first of all, you could see how the market was getting whacked. And then whatever they were buying, they were selling again. That tells me get my money back out because that's not a chart that tells you which way it's planning to go from here. Okay, so let's see. And one of my first it was Steve, who was in my one of my first training groups up at Puka Lake many years ago. We'd stay in touch, but he is kind of advocating the same thing that I have advocated, that instead of trying to learn how to use each one of these patterns and signals, at least be familiar with them, but just learn how to use 2 or 3 very effectively. There's enough trade situations out there based upon specific signals or patterns where you're going to constantly have enough supply of good trades. So what you want to do when you see these signals or patterns that you become very adept at trading, now you have complete control of your trading, that you don't have to worry about what somebody else is saying or whether you're going to jump into another pattern, but you're not real sure of all the ramifications of that pattern. If you just learn 2 or 3 extremely well, and then familiar with all the rest of them, so it kind of enhances knowing what your patterns are doing, you're going to make good money. Richard, yes, I'll get to FOBU when we get to the short. So here's one trading technique. When you see a breakout, like we pointed out on this one right in here, let's get rid of that line. That was a breakout. That gives you the potential of these type of price moves. Somebody else was saying today they were in bingo. You could see how bingo had broken out. That's why we came across OCGN when it broke out. So we were buying this one at 72 cents, and today obviously it closed at 307. So these type of signals or patterns are one way to, or one trading mechanism or method, that if you see a breakout, they could go up and fizzle. But a lot of times, if you see a breakout situation, you're going to get, that means something's happening. You don't have to be a fully researched analyst to know what's going on in every stock. You can tell right there that something's going on. So the worst case scenario, not the worst case scenario, the logical scenario is you see a breakout like that, hey, man, they're really buying this one. I better go to my news and see what's happening to see whether this was just a fluke or whether we got more upside. So you had it with that. There was a big breakout and then follow through, but that breakout right there told you, whoops, there was something coming into this that got everybody excited. Now, where do we want to be if we're trading stocks? We're trying to find the signals and patterns that tells us we're just now seeing everybody get excited about something so that we could be in the right place at the right time. We saw that in Silicon today. It did a best friend gap up, J-hook type pattern. More than likely there's going to be, that right there just tells us there's probably going to be a lot more buying. Yeah, I've got that one on here somewhere, way down here near the bottom. It gapped up. So you watch this and say, all right, if this starts trading positive, that tells me I've got a good prospect of at least a 45 degree. Matthew, they were excited about all of them. Now, here's just a simple logical deduction. That if all of a stock, or all the stocks in a specific sector are moving, that means the big money really likes that sector and they're jumping into everything. It's not like this stock had a gap up for some reason while everything else was trading flat. If you can see that a bunch of them were doing that same thing, I tell you they were coming into that sector. So what's our stars and alignment trading practice? Well, if we can see, first of all, gold stocks kind of are the deviant of this analysis, but if you can see which way the market's going, and then you can analyze which sectors are acting the best in that trend. Then you can analyze which stocks are acting the best in that sector. But more so, if that sector is acting well and you can see there's a bunch of them, everybody is buying the stocks, we've got the capabilities of seeing which ones are probably the best ones. So GFI, that to me looks like a kicker signal, gap up through the moving averages. There's a gap up in this area that it could be heading for. Okay, let's see. SLBD was another one where the breakout told us we had a good strong chart. Now, That's the alert. That told us not to get in. Remember what our kind of our statistical practice is. That if you're long and it opens here, you close it out. Or if you're thinking of buying and the next day it opens here, you don't buy it until it comes back up through this level. Because as long as it stays below this level, it's not going to go anywhere. It's when they come back up through this level that tells you the profit taking's over and the information that was built into this signal is now confirming. Then after that, it becomes your next trend analysis. J-hook patterns, is it staying above the T-line? And UCTT, that's not a signal. But that and that and that becomes a signal. There's your doji sandwich. Now, what can we analyze on this as far as where is this likely to move to? 2 spots. 1, probably coming back up here to test the highs. And 2, if it breaks through there, got wave 1, wave 2, doji sandwich breakout going into wave 3. Just gives you a lot more information to say, here's a place to have my money because there's a lot more force and we can see what the pattern is. VIX, fry pan bottom. AOSL, fry pan bottom, little doji sandwich. Whoops, I'm trying to, well, that's a fine howdy do. Would you have held the J-hook on? No. What was this telling us? We're in the overbought area. They were running out of steam. They had a bearish left-right combo. Where was it likely to move to? Back to the T-line. What would you be watching with a doji coming back to the T-line? Now I say watching. Say you'd gotten into this, you got out, but you could see that it was still above the T-line, but it was drifting back. So what do you do with this one? You keep it on your watch list, and you see what happens once it gets back to the T-line. If you were alert, you would have been buying on this day somewhere. Or you start buying again here. So I have no qualms about closing out a position here and buying back here because I know what the probabilities are that it's probably moving in this direction. And ADAP, there's your J-hook pattern. And what do we have as evidence that this is a nice J-hook pattern? Because every time they came back down to the T-line, you had a hammer, doji, all supporting right here at the T-line area. Where do you think the next likely target's going to be? Up here. And then you just watch to see what happens if and when it gets there, what it does at that level. There's wave 1, wave 2. Now a lot of people ask, why do you have the 34 on? The 34 seems to work well. It's not a major moving average like the 50 or the 200, but it's relevant enough to have on your chart. And again, it's not like we're cluttering up the charts, just have a few different lines on there. But the fact that they did kind of a little inverted hammer, gap up, what do we expect? With stochastics coming up, bouncing up through the T-line, gapping up today, not only gapping up, but trading strong even though the market was off 400 points. That's NTR. I guess that's a, That's an agricultural chemicals and Moss. Same scenario, kind of a little scoop type pattern. There's your Morningstar signal, and look where it did today. It traded positive on a bad hair day up through that level. That tells me there's a prospect of a scoop pattern. We did all the golds. Oh. The weed stocks are, they're okay. They're just not anything to go after. What about crude oil? Ooh, crude oil I'll have to pull up again. So there's Harmony, also a gap up. Crude oil was backing off a little bit today. Well, something like this. Let's see. LGAG. And so it's still in this range, holding up decently well. Now it's much higher than what I would have expected it to be, with all the fields that they're finding or enhancing. CF is, okay, another good looking chart. That agriculture. Let's see, ICHR. Another one that's going into wave 3. Bullish Harami, inverted hammer. First target up here. Second target, the magnitude. Oh, I don't know. I keep forgetting how to get soybean oil. SBAG. John, I forget what I don't trade soybean oil, so I never pull up the symbol. You know what the symbol is? Let's see, we did this, we did that ENLV. Now this is a trend or bullish flutter ticker setup, which means if it opens positive, you want to be buying immediately because of the, if it opens positive after kind of a spinning top doji day, it's going to trade positive. So if you took out that little flutter, you have a kicker signal, one of your strongest signals. There's a ZLAH21. Let's see if that does. ZLH21. No, I'll have to. Yep. Is it BO? Well, that's a trade station. Oh, okay, one more, and then I'll have to realize I don't know what I'm doing. Soybean oil. Got a little bit toppy today, kind of your dark cloud. So if this opened lower and I was long, I'd close out the position, take profits. Oh, it could be a trend. No, it wouldn't be a trend kicker. It would be a kicker signal. But if this had been more decisive. So it doesn't matter what you call it. The fact that they gapped up and traded above or opened and traded above that open, the previous day's open, makes it a kicker setup of some sort. If it opens positive, then you've got a bullish flutter kicker. Oh, I usually know what, yeah, I usually know which ones they are. They're a little bit different on each. Jim, is your microphone still on? I keep hearing somebody cheering, but maybe it's all you cheering these wild and exciting sessions. ALT looks like a scoop pattern setting up. There's CRIS. I don't even know what it does, but there's a J-hook pattern setting up after the big breakout. And here's kind of the things that we're going to go into. Like, when was it time to start taking profits? Well, there was a bearish kicker signal. And if we got back in, there was a bearish kicker signal. I told you every time they took it up, they were selling it off. This case, they weren't below the T-line, but that's still a strong signal. John, yes. That is what happens when you're trading ADRs. They have lots of little gaps in them because they're traded obviously overseas. So you can trade the ADRs, but there's no reason to, because you've still got 9,500 trading entities to trade. You might as well trade something that you can analyze. Is GIF one? Here's Apache. Look where the sell signal was. This is the first indication that there's a change of investor sentiment. Is the sell signal itself, a bearish left-right combo, evening star signal. So that told us that this sector was probably over. And where was a logical place to put your stops? Right there at the low of the doji, because if it came down through there, where was it heading to? Back here. If it did a sell signal up here, what would you be doing? You'd be waiting to see a strong buy signal or a buy signal telling you you're in a J-hook pattern, which it never did. Is this a it may be an ADF, but it's apparently not. Yeah, I don't see it marked up there. On 12/18, 12/18 was right about in here. Remember, there's one basic rule. In this case, it didn't close back below the T-line. You had a doji gap up, and you're in the oversold area. Stochastics coming up. So if this is about the 18th rating here, no, wouldn't have been concerned. I would have said need to see it stay above the T-line. Let's see. TradeView says Gold Fields. Okay, it could be an ADR, but it looks like even though it is a ADR, it must do quite a bit of its trading here because it's not real choppy. Okay, what else am I looking at? Oh, things that would just kind of tell you that even though you don't have a close below the T-line, That the gap up was an alert that if you saw the next buy or sell signal, that's when you take profits. What is a very simple rule when you see a gap up in the overbought condition? Immediately start looking for selling. That makes it very easy. That's just kind of going in the stream of thought that the Japanese race traders provide for us. Gap up, hanging man, shooting star. Where was a logical place to put your stop? Down here. Because if it came back through that level, it's coming back to at least test the T-line. So, again, this is not rocket science. This is just following simple rules. See the gap up? Where would your stop have been? Right here. Because if it came back down through that level, where do you think you were heading to? Back in this direction. So if you were aggressive, you could have been shorting it knowing it was heading in this direction. Now what do? You wait to see what happens here, and if it doesn't open positive, you know you're still in a good short. And so this is why it's just as important to know what to start looking for closing out a position as it is for buying a position. Because it doesn't do you any good if you bought here and you sold here and you held on to this for whatever this was, 4 weeks, and you only made 6% on your trade. That's not an effective way to trade. You want to start telling or asking yourself, is this the best place to have my funds, things rolling over, or should I go ahead and take my profits? It could go up, but if I go find a chart like this, I know the probabilities are much stronger that it's going to go up. So it's kind of a shifting of your probability factor using the information built into the candlestick signal. So yeah, Jumia was the same. Oops, I didn't do that, did I? We did Jumia. I sold some Blank Harry, the shorter term calls, but we've got accounts where they're just holding longer term. We actually sold some of the Blink out of the longer term accounts with the idea that, let me get to that one. NetEase, gap up. Notice a kicker type signal. So what is the only thing on a kicker signal that tells you want to get out right away? If they gap it right back down below the open, that tells you whatever happened here was wrong. You close it out immediately. So Blink should have been closed here. Gave it one more day. Should have been closed here. But we're also looking at it on a longer term basis to be doing these type of actions. So tomorrow it already looks like somebody can pull it up. I think it's already trading up about a point. Back at 38.48 or 38.60. And is this Gilead? That's kind of a cradle pattern with a gap, and I got out. But it is also a scoop with a gap. I'm looking at the right chart with a gap, and I got out. Brad, yeah, I would have to ask you, why would you get out when you saw a buy signal in the oversold area and they gapped it up? That's at the top up here. All right. Well, now you can decide what to do based upon how they open it tomorrow. Well, I would have probably stayed in. But now you have at least the flexibility to see. You don't want to see it open down here. If it starts trading positive, you can buy back in again. Okay, what else did we do? Oh, just a few more. Again, these are going to be kind of examples that we're going to go through in much more detail. That when you see a gap up and you see a sell signal, start taking profits, even though you're not back below the T-line. Because what does that gap up tell you? You're going to probably see some selling. And does that make this a good chart in the overbought area and you're starting to see selling? No, you probably should go back and find another chart that looks like this. Same scenario, left-right combo, another sell signal. Got to ask yourself, is this the best place to stay in? Or where should I have my safety stop? So when your stochastics are starting to roll over, you're starting to see some indecision. Say to yourself, is this the best place to have my money? Or is it getting to where it's a little bit iffy? Let's close out the position, or let's at least close out half the position, so that if it does a day like this and you get out, at least you are half right to close it out up here and move money more into a situation like this. Okay, on the short side, charts like this, where if you were long, it was not doing anything. So my rationale is if I close something here, even though it didn't close below the T-line, what's the worst case scenario? It shows good strength, pops back up through this level, tells me I've got the next move up. MGNI, it was a dark cloud as a sell signal, a bearish engulfing signal. Remember what the difference is between a dark cloud and a bearish engulfing. So I haven't even looked at the cruise lines. Cruise lines, yeah, this one, you could probably short this one on weakness. Looks like kind of bearish, bearish J-hook patterns setting up. At least figure that they're heading down to the 50. LAZR had a good-looking chart, kind of a wedge breakout setting up. But what was the wedge breakout parameters? You could pretty much draw a line up through the bottoms here and draw a line down through the tops. There's your wedge. So it looked like on this day that they were breaking out, but it didn't confirm the next day. Now we're back down below this level. That tells us a completely different story, that now maybe it's a wedge breakout to the downside. So this is a good example of getting ready for a pattern, but if it doesn't, or if you did get in, you get right back out if it didn't do exactly what it was expected to do. Well, it's got all these lines in here now. Another one, dark or bearish engulfing, started back up, but where would be the spot? I've got to get rid of all these so we can see what the spot would be. I use a very simple trading rule that if this was my sell signal and they are starting back up and I'm looking at it in here, I definitely want to see it close above that level. Until it does, you're still in the trading range. And the probabilities are not in your favor until you can see they can actually close into that new level. I'm going on way longer than. This is a perfect example of having a safety stop in place. You're starting to see dojis up here, even though you're in the overbought condition, there's no selling. This is what you want to protect against. So if you stopped out right here, yeah, I gave up a little bit, but that's better than giving up a huge percent return. So this one actually is getting to the point where it might be a good short. Same scenario right here. This is why when you're in the overbought area, always have a safety stop in place. And I say that not from wisdom of that's what you should do. I'm saying that from experience, that I've looked back so many times and said, man, all I had to do was put a stop at the logical place, and I wouldn't have to be sitting here with a big loss or giving up most of my profits. So here's where you observe the obvious. Doji, bearish engulfing, doji, selling. Should have had a stop in here someplace. And why would this be more indicative that there's some selling going on up here? Because if you probably drew a line right up through the tops, it's telling you, yeah, they're hitting this resistance level, and we're starting to see sell signals in the overbought area. Let's start unloading this and see what they do from here. All right, I guess I don't have very many more here to. So what was the alert? If I had been long this, there's my fry pan bottom. What was my alert? There's that gap up. Selling. I probably would have closed this out right here. Because what was happening after the gap up? Yeah, you could always put a safety stop in any place. But I usually have it just as a, again, I've so many times that I said, oh, I'm going to watch and make sure I've got a stop in up here. And then I go take a shower or go grab a sandwich and come back and say, why the heck didn't I take 6 seconds to put in a stop? I wouldn't have to be worrying about what's going on at these levels, or at the level now that I find it's trading. If you've got a big move and it opens lower the next day, take your profits. You can always buy back when the profit taking's over and they come back up through this level. Okay, I went way past time. Are there any general questions on candlesticks? I don't even know what to trade in on the Bitcoin area, and it's not that I just haven't paid attention to it. I've just got too many other things to trade. But you can probably trade the Bitcoin on the same charts as you would on any other trading entity. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, I was telling the chat room today that one of my cleaning ladies that come, her son bought Bitcoin way down there, and so when he was around, I had him doing work around the barn and the house. At that time, he was already up $100,000 on his Bitcoin. And I'm thinking, if I was 22 years old and had $100,000, man, I'd be the biggest playboy that you'd ever run across. Other than I was ugly. Yeah, so Riot is a way to take advantage of the Bitcoin move. There was a few others, but I can't even remember them anymore. Okay, I guess with that, Jim, go ahead and do the double line. And in 3.8 seconds, do the next double line. will pay an annual dividend of 63 cents on January 20th, okay? Of holders of record on the 11th, okay. Yeah, I can't get GBTC on this. Just doesn't come up over here, Mark. Yeah, and it might come up somewhere. Lumber. Well, I don't know why lumber's not coming up. No. Huh. I can't get lumber up. Is it LBS? No, I'll have to look it up. I didn't trade lumber because it wasn't a very active trader or didn't have a lot of volume to get in and out. So I've forgotten what the symbols are. AXDX, kind of your little cup and handle. If you're long, just watch to see what it does at the 50. And Groupon, that one you want to go short. Kind of your bearish Harami, bearish double doji sandwich, first target here. 50 is second target. These bottomed out, but they're not real strong reversal signals. I guess this one is all right because it looks like it might have done a bullish engulfing signal. And I probably wouldn't buy this until it breaks this downtrend, the tops. AT&T, Matthew, that's probably one of the most boringest traders in the markets. I mean, it's basing. If it moves, it's still not going to be a very significant price move, and it takes it a while. Obviously, being the quintessential institutional trader. And Mara, whoops, if I do the whole, that is a morning star signal. No, it's not. Yeah, that's still not a very good chart. Again, notice where the selling started when they gapped it up. If I had been long on this, my safety stop would have been right there. Because if it came down through there, where were they heading? Eventually back to the T-line. FLGT, nice little slow curve. Doji gap up. You stay long, not in the overbought area. That's true. That's true. I have to keep another secret from Sandy. She knows I didn't have 100,000 when I was 22 years old. GLNG. You can stay long on this. You want to see it break out through this level. And the Qs, like the NASDAQ, sold off pretty hard today. So it'll be important to see what the futures are in the morning. But remember, this is the first time that the NASDAQ has closed below the T-line in months, especially with a left-right combo. Futu, that's a good chart. You can see that it did break out through this downtrend. So right now you stay long. I'd have a safety stop right here. because you kind of bobbled or you did a indecisive trading at the same level it topped out before, but your stochastics is still heading up. You're still above the 3T line, so I'd suspect you've still got more upside. And Zynga, it's going to tell you what to do. If you're long, it has to open positive and trade positive. If it opens lower, close out the position. You're still in that downward drift. FNGU, another one that has to open positive, but you're starting to see some selling. So if this opens lower tomorrow and I was long, I'd close out the position. Just because of that simple analysis, there's probably better places to have your money. Boeing, you stay short. I would anticipate they're going to eventually test the 50. FSLI did hit the 50. It's not quite in the oversold area, but if I was short, I'd be ready to start, especially if it started trading above today's open. This one, that's a toughie. That'd be a toughie. If you're long, you definitely want to see this one open positive tomorrow. Starbucks, I would have closed this one out. Yep, I would have either stopped out or definitely closed out with a closing below the T line. Not that it might not continue to go up eventually, but you're in the overbought area, you have a bearish engulfing. Simple statement. I think there's probably much better places to have your money right now. And bingo, that's a toughie too. If you've stayed long, shoot, I'd probably pick a spot like the halfway point of this candle. If they were able to have enough strength to bring it back down through that level, that means the profit taking has started. We did Myra. That one I would not be, probably wouldn't be long in this one. Oh, yeah, but for some reason it won't come up over on this system. This is natural gas, S.NGA. Now, it won't come up over here. H contract. That hogs. Riot. Gapped up, doji, bearish engulfing. If this opens lower, I'd start taking profits. And space, I think got the wind knocked out of it right here. If you're short, you can stay short. Would do wood. All right, that's the ETF. So I'm guessing. So if you were long, you can see what's happened here. You had a bearish engulfing gap down. Indecisive, bearish signal. I'd probably be taking profits, especially if this opens lower tomorrow. That's an ETF, all right. An American, you just stay short. An EB, you could go short on this one. Now, on these big moves like this, you just have to be careful that they don't open it up positive. If they do, you put your sell stop right here. that if they open positive and waffle around and then start selling off, if they come back down through there, the sellers are winning. We did FOBU. If you're short, you stay short. And CNC, you can be buying this one. Just trying to break this downtrend. You have to get through this level. So if you're buying, just watch to see what it does there at the moving averages. Will, it's still kind of a visual. Remember, the T-line acts like a natural support and resistance level of human nature, which stays relatively close to it. It's when you start seeing excessive movement away that was more than normal, and you're in the overbought area, that's what starts giving you the indication to take profits. Now, on the other ones, that is the signal, the gap up. So either one of two things are going to happen. It kind of waffles around and waits for the T-line to catch up, or there's something going on that it's going to continue right on going, because that's what's telling you that there is something happening that's going to keep it going. Said that kind of in a stuttery manner. That's why I needed $100,000 at the age of 22 to get dates. Stay short on this one. Where is it likely to go to? Back here. Trying to fill that gap. And BNTX. This one, if I had been short, is that a valid Morningstar? No. A Morningstar signal is a close above the halfway point of this candle, and it's usually a solid candle. That's just a doji gap up. Now, if I'd been short, I would have covered the short. But I wouldn't be going long until you see further confirmation, which in this case, if you're buying on positive trading, you have to watch to see what it does at the T-line. Or you wait to see if it can get up through the T-line. TAN. You can stay long on this, just use the T-line as your stop. Marna. Stay, well, I was going to say stay short, but you can see that it's starting to pick up some strength. You're in the oversold area, and there's on the 50. They've filled that gap. If you're short, I'd be ready to cover the short position on positive trading. Even though it hasn't closed above the T-line, what's the probability factor? You're in the oversold area. You're at the 50. You're starting to see some buying. If you shorted it up in this range, it's time to take profits. But you got to take a look at the breakout situations that something's happening. Now, the excessive gap up usually occurs when you're at the top. Now, this may not be the excessive gap up, but we saw a lot of charts before when they were already in an uptrend and then they gapped up. That's the exuberance. This is the force down here when they start gapping up pretty strong. And Billy, that would have been one I would have stopped out and probably would have said, all right, I'm not getting back in, because even though it's probably going higher, I'd rather go find something that looks more like this. So I didn't answer the question, did I? Richard, if you're long, you just stay long on that one. I wouldn't be going long. Adobe, now that's a toughie because it did hit the 50 and bounce back up, but you could probably be shorting this one on weakness, which would also be a function of the market itself acting weak. Has it hit a bottom yet? No, we don't have a buy signal. We're in the oversold area, but they're still selling it off. So if you're short, stay short. Wouldn't be a buyer. FedEx stochastic is 491. Okay, but all it's telling you is that it's oversold based upon stochastics, but you don't have a buy signal. So just because it's oversold doesn't mean it's time to cover. It's time to cover when you start seeing a reversal signal. In CNC, we did this one. You want to see it get up through the moving averages. You're kind of broken this downtrend, but just watch to see what happens once it gets there. Wayfair, not a clean signal. But if I was short, you would have stopped out today with it trading back up above the previous day's open. The logic there would be you're in the oversold area. You're right here at the 200, and it actually bounced off the 200. If they came back up, at least you know what your first likely target's going to be up here. So you would have covered your short as it came back up through that previous open. The green line, or gray line, whatever you want to call it, I'm colorblind, is the 34. The black is the 8, and this little green line is the 3. Would you say gold has gapped up in the overbought area? No, that just broke out of this pattern. So all right. So this was not a good day, meaning for the bulls, because it keeps resisting at this level and can't get through. Now they've closed it back below the T-line. So notice how it bounced off the 34 today and came up. So it'll be important to see how it opens tomorrow. I still think it's going to be, is tomorrow the election in Georgia. That's going to be very important. Okay. Democratic mayor finally admits he was wrong after 7 straight months of rioting. Can't believe they're still rioting. He put WP. Nothing of any consequence here. I'd be someplace else. Yeah, so this is where you go and find out what the news was. Because you can see the fry pan bottom, you can see the kind of the kicker type gap up. That's where you go and see what the news was. Up 420%, so it's trading up further. All right. The 34 just seems to work. It's not something that I came up with. It's something that other people for years have been using different moving averages. And the 34 is one of them that seems to work. Seems to work more on commodities or futures. I am just... So it's exponential, 34 exponential. So there's a very simple process. if somebody says put something on your chart, as you can see, I try to keep them as simple as possible because the most important factor on these, analyzing what's going on in these charts, is the signal itself. So if somebody says put the XYZ indicator on, and after 3-4 weeks it's not working, take it back off. You just want to have stuff on there that kind of enhances your analysis. Okay, I've kept us way over time. We'll definitely need to see how this market opens tomorrow. I would be pretty, nah. Can't. Every time I say I'm pretty confident the market's going to do this or that, it does the exact opposite. So my inclination is that the market will stay pretty flat until they see what the election does in Georgia. CBB, yep, they're doing everything in their customer service, or when I call now, they jump to get everything straightened out. So I'm sure they're still working out a few bugs. USAS, just stay long. Nice fry pan bottom breakout. All right, everybody, have a good evening. We will see you bright and early in the chat rooms tomorrow. We'll see you then.